275 Missoula.
It's time for Montana's only daily sports talk show, Nuanez Now. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
I like football!
Now here's your host, Coulter Nuanez.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome in. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. I'm Coulter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Hope you are having a great start to your week. If you're asking, well, why the heck am I sitting here in the Grizzly Disposal Studio? Well, we are on our way. We sort of just decided to plan this around being in Boise on the weeknights of the tournament. Saturday and Sunday have often not brought much in terms of fanfare and competition. Saturday for the Big Sky Tournament, it's always the 9 versus the 10 seed, then the 7 versus the 8 on both the women's and the men's sides. Those games are usually pretty lackluster. And then on Sunday, you have the 1 and the 2 seeds playing the winners of those games, and so often those games are also sort of foregone conclusions. So the tournament really starts on Monday when you have the 4-5 games and the 3-6 games. So that's what will play out. We saw the 4-5 game today. 5th-seeded Sacramento State on the women's side upsets 4th-seeded Idaho State. So Idaho State, a team that had 3 seniors, a team that beat Montana State during the regular season, their season comes to an abrupt halt. So that's one of your first 2 upsets you've seen so far in this tournament. The other one came last night with Montana State, the 2nd seed on the men's side, losing to Idaho. So Bobcats are out. Lady Grizz season also over. That was not an upset. Lady Grizz got through that 7-8 game on Saturday, and then they ran to the buzzsaw that is the Montana State women yesterday. So 3rd rivalry loss this basketball season for Montana State, for Montana's women to Montana State. So Bobcats moving on. So here we are now. We are not quite to Boise. We'll be there this evening, but we actually only have 2 Montana teams left. Last year, actually the last 2 years, been the total opposite of that. We had all 4 Montana teams playing on Tuesday, and then you had the championship game 2 years ago between the Cats and the Grizz on the men's side. You had the championship game last year between the Cats and the Grizz on the women's side. So we're not in that scenario right now. Half the teams from Montana already out. The Grizz do play at 5:30 tonight, so we will have a preview of that. We'll roll right into the game. We don't have the game here on the radio airwaves, but we'll be talking about the game right up until actually probably after even it's tipped. Probably got about 15 minutes of talk while the game's already going on. So you'll hear from Steve Smiley, the head coach of Northern Colorado, as well as his stud post player, Brock Wisney. We'll also hear from Travis DeCuire, the head coach of the University of Montana, and that will then commence. So then that's the docket tonight, Northern Colorado versus Montana in the 4-5 game on the women's side. And then you have the 3-6 matchup between Eastern Washington and Weber State. And we'll see who can then advance into the semifinals starting tomorrow. The Bobcat women we know that they play at 2:30. Idaho plays Sac State at noon, and then whoever's playing in the semis tonight, we'll know a little bit later on because we know that Portland State's already through and Idaho already through. Montana State out, so that's the one upset on the men's side. So we'll get to all that here today. I also talked to a whole variety of coaches from across the Big Sky Conference landscape. The one question that I had for everybody in the league is, why does the league seem so even? Like, why isn't there a dominant team on the men's side? We got a lot of insightful answers. First of all, I think it takes a really long time for guys to start to gel and come together and play well. I think you saw that with both Northern Colorado and Eastern Washington. That was the Grizz last year. They didn't really coalesce until the second half of the conference season, but once they did, then they sort of, in Northern Colorado's case, assumed the form that we thought that they would have. In Eastern Washington's case, overcome just a completely topsy-turvy non-conference. Eastern Washington was 2-13 in the non-conference. They didn't let it break them, though, and then they go out and they finish 3rd outright in the men's league. So good effort by them to overcome what was a little bit of a clunky start. But why? Why is the margin of victory the second smallest of any league in the country? Average margin in a Big Sky game this year was 3.8 points. Why is that? We talked to a whole variety of coaches on that subject, so I thought I'd play that montage for you. We'll hear from Jay Flores and Chris Cobb, two assistants from the University of Montana. We'll also hear from Steve Smiley, the head coach of Northern Colorado, Dan Monson, the head coach of Eastern Washington. We'll hear from Matt Logie, the head coach of Montana State, and we'll hear from Jace Coburn, the head coach at Portland State. So that's all coming up here in hour number 1 as well. By that point, I'll be on an airplane. But Jeff Safford and Hayden Smith will give you the latest and greatest when it comes to what's going down in the Big Sky Tournament in the second of the 2 women's games this afternoon, as well as what's going down in the Grizz game. By the time we're off the air going into the 6 o'clock hour, we will have the Grizz will probably be midway to a little bit more through the first half of the game, and then we'll have a full recap of that game for you tomorrow from Boise. So win, lose, or draw, we'll know exactly what's going down. But been an interesting tournament so far. Nothing that surprising about Montana State taking the Montana women apart yesterday, but a little bit of a surprise that Montana State lost last night. Although Idaho in the semis for the second year in a row, so they're certainly doing something right there under Alex Pribble. They're on the right trajectory, no question. I thought Montana State just ran out of guys. I thought that the Bobcats, they were down to 7 players, period. Like, they dressed 7 guys. So that makes for a really short bench. You got a couple guys that are playing completely elevated roles, a couple of the younger guys on the roster. And then you compound it by the fact that Patrick McMahon, who is Montana State's most proven performer. He's either their best or second best player, depending on which way you want to slice it. But he has been all-conference multiple times. He was second-team all-conference this year. He was playing with a severely injured foot. I'm not sure if it was an ankle or whatever the ailment was. He couldn't cut very well. You could tell he was limping around. He scored 8 points last night, but he was not his full strength self. And I think all of it just compounded on itself. I think Montana State just ran out of gas. And I thought Idaho played well last night, too. They really punished Montana State in the paint. I mean, that was the weakness, right? Like Chris Hodges, the Bobcat center, that's their only big guy, really. I mean, Jaden Stepp was playing some 5. But Stepp's like a 6'8". He's 6'8", but he's like a 200-pound sophomore. He's got like a wing body. So that certainly held Montana State back. I think all things considered, you don't want to lose your first game in Boise, but I thought it was a good year for Montana State to finish second, even sweep the Grizz, even though they were so shorthanded. So I know when you lose that first tournament game, it's sort of just a kick to the gut. But Montana State was able to have a good year up to that point. Sort of just comes to a screeching halt when that goes down. So I think they'll bounce back, but it's a tough loss for the Bobcats, and that's the one surprise on the men's side. Slight surprise for Sac State's women. They won 62-53 over Idaho State. Natalie Picton, who's a former Bobcat, she had 19 points. She hit 3 threes. I thought, even though Idaho State was the 4 seed and they have some of the better seniors in the conference, Casey Spink being one of them, Tasia Jordan being another one, I thought that Sac State was actually an underachieving team. Just because when you have Benti Versteeg and Faitu Jate and Natalie Picton, I mean, they have some players that are proven players in Big Sky Conference basketball. So I thought they should have been a little bit better than maybe 5th. But either way, they're moving on, but they got the unenviable task of playing Idaho, and I think Idaho is rolling right now. Idaho's really fun to watch. They took Weber State apart yesterday, so that's certainly a buzzsaw waiting. And then Montana State gets the winner of Eastern Washington and Northern Colorado. Northern Colorado right now, at the beginning of the fourth quarter, up 46-39. Courtney Grossman, the great Billings West product who plays for Eastern Washington, she was second-team all-conference. She has 11.6 rebounds to lead the Eagles, but a balanced scoring effort led by Gabby Fields with 11 points for the Bears, has them out in front. Tasia West, 17 rebounds already. We still have a quarter to play. Wonder what the Big Sky Tournament single game record is, for rebounds in a contest. I bet you 17 is getting pretty close, if not breaking it. So that's pretty fun. We'll have a final for you on that game probably here at the bottom of the hour. And then we'll certainly have updates for you on the Grizz game once that one gets started at 5:30. Tournament Takeover, probably presented in part by Bob Ward's. Bob Ward's has huge savings, top name brands, all under one roof. Shop Bob Ward's, Montana's oldest sporting goods retailer, and get geared up for the season the right way. Let's take a look quickly at the state tournament fields. All the state tournaments for AA, A, B, and C, boys and girls, get started this upcoming weekend. It's always a huge accomplishment for a high school basketball team to make it to state, so congrats to everybody that did. We'll break down more of the sort of the matchups and stuff. I just want to give you the state tournament field. Boys AA, this is in Billings. Starting at noon on Thursday, Great Falls CMR plays Helena High. Then at 1:30, Missoula Sentinel, the top seed out of the West, they play Billings Senior. Missoula Hellgate, the second seed out of the West, they play Bozeman Gallatin at 6:30. And Billings West takes on Missoula Big Sky at 8 p.m. On Thursday. AA girls basketball, this is starting at 9 a.m. on Thursday in Billings. The morning game, Butte High versus Billings Central. Then you got Bozeman Gallatin, the undefeated and defending state champs, versus Helena High. Helena High won their play-in game on Friday night. So actually, Helena High swept the play-in games at Capital on Friday night. So good job by them. 2 Capital City matchups at Capital High, and Helena High won both of them to advance the state. So good job by the Bengals. Billings West plays Missoula Hellgate at 3:30 on the girls' side, and then Missoula Big Sky, the top seed out of the West on the girls' side, they take on Billings Skyview. The Class A boys basketball tournament takes place in Great Falls. Gets started 9 a.m. Ronan versus Lockwood. 10:30, Billings Central versus Butte Central. 3:30, Glendive boys take on Frenchtown. And then at 5, Dillon takes on Miles City. Class A girls tournament from Great Falls. Frenchtown, they make their way through the Western A. They got Hardin. That's at noon. Billings Central plays Big Fork. Billings Central, the 2-time defending champs in this tournament. Big Fork got through the Western A to get to state as well. Havre takes on Whitefish at 6:30, and then the nightcap, Dillon versus Laurel to wrap things up on day one in Great Falls. Class B tournament descends upon Bozeman. The Anaconda, this is boys basketball. Anaconda takes on Shepherd at noon. Lodgegrass still awaiting the second team out of the north. So I think we might have a challenge game this week. Lodgegrass versus a TBD at 1:30. 6:30 is Harlem versus St. Labret, and then Three Forks awaits the number 2 out of the West as well. That's at 8 p.m. That's on the boys' side. Class B girls basketball, 9 a.m. The tournament gets started underway there in Bozeman. Forest Carlton takes on Huntley Project. Undefeated Baker still waiting for their opponent out of the north. Malta takes on Big Timber, and then Ennis takes on Missoula Loyola at 5 p.m. So Loyola and Baker on opposite sides of the bracket. That might be one a potential state tournament matchup to look forward to. Nuanez Now 129 ESPN Radio Class C Spotlight. Probably presented in part by Stockman Bank. Stockman Bank in Montana, only in Montana. They plan on keeping it that way. Let Stockman Bank show you Montana's brand of banking. Class C tournament gets started on Wednesday, 3 p.m. This is the boys' side. Win at Grass Range. They take on the 2 seed from the East. That's still TBD. There's still some challenge games that are going on tonight to figure out who's going to state. But that's at 3 p.m. Win at Grass Range versus a TBD opponent. Then you got Belt versus West Yellowstone at 4:30. Luster Christian boys versus CJI. That's Chester Joplin Inverness at 6 p.m. And Manhattan Christian, who sort of rose up and took the Western C, they take on Roy Winifred at 7:30. Again, that's Wednesday. That is here in Missoula. On Wednesday for the girls Class C, Thursday girls Class C. So you got Wednesday boys, Thursday girls, and then we'll have more alternating games here in Missoula. But Denton Geyser, Stanford Geraldine, they're undefeated. They're the team to beat. On the girls side, they take on Scobie. CJI, Chester Joplin Inverness, they play on Thursday at 1:30 against West Yellowstone. Circle takes on Belt at 3:30, and Drummond takes on Millstone at 5 p.m. Our Class C Spotlight probably presented by Wayne Dalton Sales and Services. Wayne Dalton can offer you factory prices on garage doors because they are the factory. If you want to save money and improve your home, visit Wayne Dalton online. You can go WayneDalton.com/Missoula. Appreciate them for their continued support of the Class C Spotlight. Nuanez Now 129 ESPN Radio will be back on the other side. Why is the Big Sky Conference such a nip and tuck league this year? We'll go through all that next. Keep it right here, 129 ESPN Radio. Red's Bar is a beloved institution in downtown Missoula. Whether you want to watch a game, enjoy a cold beer, spend time with friendly faces, or simply wind down, the welcoming atmosphere and wonderful staff at Red's will make you feel right at home. Red's features 14 HD TVs and 2 full-service bars. Stop by and grab a beer with friends while you watch your favorite team play and check out the extensive collection of awesome sports memorabilia. Red's Bar in downtown Missoula, the friendliest sports bar in town.
When it comes to your car, don't settle for just any shop. Trust the experts at Spartan's Tuning in Missoula. Got a European car like a BMW, Audi, Porsche, or Volkswagen? Spartan's Tuning has the expertise to service and repair the cars most shops won't. And if you're a Subaru owner, you're in luck. Spartan's Tuning is home to Missoula's most trusted Subaru mechanic, Rico. With over 30 years of experience, Rico is the preferred choice for Subaru repairs in the area. Spartan's Tuning, Missoula's AAA-approved shop. For more information, visit spartanstuning.com.
Buying a car shouldn't be an adventure, and at Missoula Chevrolet, it's not. Their team isn't paid on commission, so there's no pressure. Just honest help finding the right vehicle for you. You'll get real cash value for your trade, and the price you see, that's the price you pay. No back and forth, no guessing, no trail of fine print, just one low price, plain and simple always. So if you're ready for a smoother ride, on or off the road, head to Missoula Chevrolet and shop hundreds of vehicles in stock. Together, let's drive.
Hi, this is Johnny with Last Best Golf Company. I started my shop in my garage with one goal in mind, to deliver tour quality club fittings and precision builds to golfers across western Montana. We have now outgrown the garage, and we are now located at 517 South Orange Street in Missoula. Spring is right around the corner, and now is the time to book your equipment consultation and make 2026 your best season yet. Visit us at our new shop on Orange Street or check out lastbestgolfco.com. At Last Best Golf Co., we don't just sell off-the-rack golf clubs, we build pure performance, custom fit for you.
Cold weather cravings? The Montana Club has got you covered with scratch-made comfort food to match every craving. From perfectly grilled steaks to satisfying salads, they're ready to handle your hunger. So grab a table with a reservation or keep it casual and order delivery straight to your door. Great food made easy. Visit MontanaClub.com to order or reserve and come warm up at your Montana Club. Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Calling the next generation of healthcare providers. Community Health Alliance's high school healthcare scholarship program is helping students turn their passion for healthcare into a career by offering financial support and community connections. With a rich history that includes over $500,000 awarded to recipients, these scholarships are now open to graduating seniors in Lake, Mineral, Missoula, and Ravalli counties pursuing a health-related field, with awards starting at $1,000. Applications due March 12th. Learn more at communityhealthwmt.org.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Two of Montana's 4 Division I basketball teams had their seasons come to an end in Boise. Hello, I'm Jeff Safford. In the second Sunday game of the women's tournament, Montana State had no trouble against the struggling Lady Grizz. Behind 13 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 steals from Big Sky Conference MVP Taylor Chirick, MSU cruised to a 78-57 win over Montana. Montana State's 3 victories over UM this season came by an average of 26 points per game. Second-seeded Montana State moves into the semifinals of the tournament for the 3rd year in a row. The Lady Grizz, who earned a 61-60 win over Northern Arizona in Saturday's first round, finished the season with a 9-22 record. The 9 wins marks the second lowest win total for the Lady Grizz since 1977. Shannon Schwayen won 7 games in her first season the year after legendary head coach Robin Selvig retired. The Montana State men were on the wrong side of the first upset of the tournament on Sunday night. The short-handed Bobcats played Idaho with just 7 available players. Idaho won for the second night in a row, earning a 78-74 victory to move into the semis. Jeremiah Davis went 9 of 10 from the floor and scored a game-high 22 points, while Christian King was 9 of 13 and had 21. But it wasn't enough, as MSU finished the season at 18-14. The Montana men play Northern Colorado tonight in Boise.
Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
Welcome back. 1029 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. I'm Colter Nuanez. We are coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio. Grizzly Disposal, Locally owned, veteran-owned, the only bears that should be in your garbage. If you'd like to make the switch to locally owned and veteran-owned waste management, you can by calling 406-541-7171. That's 406-541-7171. We are on our way to Boise, Idaho right now. The Big Sky Conference tournament is underway. As you listen to this, the Grizz game is probably about 45 to 60 minutes away. Montana takes on Northern Colorado in the men's tournament. Lady Grizz lost on Sunday. They ran into a buzzsaw once again. 3 losses this season alone to Montana State. 9-22 record for the Lady Grizz. Their worst record, second worst record, since 1977. So that Montana team down, and the Montana State men lost last night as well in a nail-biter to Idaho. Bobcats basically just ran out of guys. They only had 6.5 basically going into last night. They only dressed 7. Pat McMahon was playing with a lower leg injury, and he was, man, I don't even want to give it a percentage, but he was less than 100% by a long shot, and you could really tell he was laboring. And Idaho played well. Idaho has been in the semifinals 2 years in a row now. I think Alex Pribble has that thing going in the right direction. Idaho was great when they first came back into the conference. Then they were just unbelievably, embarrassingly bad when Don Verlin was fired and Zach Klaus took over. But then Alex Pribble has got them at least incrementally better. And then the semifinals for the second time in as many years. So 2 of the Montana teams out. Grizz playing later on this evening. Montana State won on Sunday against Montana, against Lady Grizz, ended the Lady Grizz season. So Montana State moving on to the semis for the 3rd year in a row. So that's where we're at right now here on this Monday with the Big Sky Tournament going on. We will be broadcasting to you live from Idaho Central Arena Tuesday through probably partially Thursday. We'll be in studio on Thursday. We'll probably have the first segment, just sort of an instant react after the late night championship game on Wednesday. Our tournament takeover presented in part by Bob Ward's. Spring sports are officially here. We're talking soccer, baseball, softball, lacrosse. If you got an athlete in the house, you know it's go time. Before that first whistle blows, make one stop, Bob Ward's. They've got the newest releases when it comes to all sorts of stuff. Baseball gloves, bats, cleats, soccer balls, training gear, everything your athlete needs to start the season strong. The best part, you can see it all in one place instead of running all over town. Don't miss on this new winter clearance sale. They're clearing everything out to get ready for spring. They got everything from hoodies to athletic wear, a whole lot more at serious discounts, huge savings, top name brands, and all under one roof. Shop Bob Ward's, Montana's oldest sporting good retailer, and get geared up for the season the right way. One question, this all started with an interview that we played here on Nuanez Now with Jay Flores, which we're going to hear an excerpt from here in just a minute. Jay, an assistant basketball coach for the Montana Grizzlies. And he and I were talking about just the narrow margin of victory. This was back in mid-January. Well, the Big Sky Conference ended up, according to the analytics, with the smallest margin of victory of any conference in the country besides one. Second most in margin of victory. So basically, you're talking about almost every game in the league was like a 5 to 6 point game when it was all said and done. It came down the wire. I think that the average end margin was like 3.8 points. So games were close. I know I've been down on the conference. It's not the conference's fault mostly. It's the state of mid-major basketball. I think there still are a variety of really good coaches in the conference. I think Jace Coburn from Portland State, who we'll hear from in just a minute, he's doing a hell of a job there at Portland State. He was the Big Sky Conference Coach of the Year for a reason. I know Montana State lost last night, but Matt Logie did a heck of a job too. I mean, he was so shorthanded this year. Like, who would have thought that if Jed Miller was the guy that was going to rise up to be your best player, and he rose up to be a great player, but if that was the case, that you'd finish second outright in the Big Sky. I mean, they had no business being anything but a middle-of-the-road team, and they did great until then they ran out of gas and basically ran out of guys. But Logie's a heck of a coach. I mean, we know Travis DeCuire's a great coach. He's been the Big Sky Conference Coach of the Year 4 times. He's led the Grizz to the NCAA tournament 3 times. I mean, he's the stalwart. He's the Don of the league right now, 12 years into his tenure at the University of Montana. I think that Ryan Looney is a really good coach at Idaho State. I know they haven't had a ton of success, but that's a tough place to win. He usually has them sort of above, where they maybe should project to be. So, I mean, there's a lot of good coaches. I think Steve Smiley at Northern Colorado's done a heck of a job. He's recruited local talent and then kept them home. Guys like Langston Reynolds last year and Brock Wisney this year. We're going to hear from Steve Smiley here in a minute. I think Dan Monson's a great coach. He's been doing Elite Eight at Gonzaga. You know, he's been to the tournament with Gonzaga, with Long Beach State, and now he's trying to get back there with Eastern Washington. Like, he's a veteran coach. So I asked all these guys about this, right? I have said, okay, the league is down, even though it's up in the overall like Ken Palm rankings. They say it's the 16th league out of 31 conferences. Okay, so I get it. And so why? I think part of it's because so much of the talent has gravitated towards the Power Fours. But why is it that everybody in the league seems to be so even? That's actually not been the case. It used to be that the teams with like the best fan bases and the best resources, Montana and Weber State, were out in front of everybody. Then Northern Colorado and Eastern Washington started giving chase. Danny Sprinkle helped Montana State explode into the scene. It's just an interesting dynamic. So I decided to ask a variety of coaches. So let's go down the line. We're going to hear from Jay Flores and Chris Cobb of Montana. We are going to hear from Steve Smiley of Northern Colorado, Dan Monson of Eastern Washington, Travis DeCure of Montana, Matt Logie of Montana State, and Jace Coburn of Portland State. A montage here on Nuanez Now. I'll be sure to check back in and let you know whose specific voice you're listening to. But I thought this was a good way to sort of get our coverage of on-site at the Big Sky Conference Tournament kicked off. Please, the NCAA Tournament coming around the corner next Thursday and Friday are the first 2 days of the NCAA Tournament. You want to come hang out with us? You should. Blackfoot Communications and the Press Box are helping us host a watch party on March 19th. That's a Thursday for the first round of the NCAA Tournament. Then the following day, March 20th, that's a Friday, we'll be at the Rocket R Bar. Both of those events, Rocket R Bar in Bozeman, both those events will be co-hosted by Blackfoot Communications. Blackfoot Communications has been helping Montanans make strong connections for more than 70 years. With headquarters in Missoula, Blackfoot, and Bozeman, Blackfoot has been providing steady, high-quality jobs for Western Montanans for decades. As your caring neighbor, Blackfoot shows their support by giving back to local organizations, causes, and schools around the state of Montana. Blackfoot's mission is to connect people, businesses, and communities. Connect to more at Blackfoot Communications. To find out how Blackfoot can help improve your connection to the community, visit Blackfoot.com. Get this thing started off. Jay Flores, Montana men's basketball. This year, I mean, if you're just scanning the channels on ESPN Plus, you just turn it to 4 minutes to go in whatever game, and it's a 4 or 6 point game. It doesn't matter what game you turn on. So it seems like it's been really nip and tuck all year, no matter who you're playing.
We actually have like a kind of like a funny, not inside joke, but thing, like we'll always kind of make predictions as a staff for other games. Like, this team is at this place tonight in the conference. Who do you think? And I'm like, well, it's probably going to be a 4 point game with 4 minutes left, one way or the other. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I actually, and you probably actually would know, Coulter, I want to say someone maybe last year, the year before, said like we had like the most one possession games like out of any conference in the country.
I wrote a whole story about it. There was 10 in the first half of league play last year.
Okay, yeah.
Like NAU won at the buzzer like 4 times. That was 2 years ago, I guess. But
that's what I thought.
They either won or lost at the buzzer like every single weekend of the first half of conference play.
I mean, like it's truly remarkable. And like you get my hairline, I just had a birthday the other day. Like it goes fast because all these games are so close. But what do I make of it? I think it's great for college basketball. Like you have to show up ready to play or you will be beat. And that goes for every single team in the conference. You know what I mean? Like you look, Portland State scraps one out against Sac State the other night. You look at the Cats, it's a layup at the buzzer, right? Like basically every game is like that. And I think it brings the best out of competitors. Like there's been a lot of players across the league that step up in crunch time. And really like, you look, there have been teams that have struggled that are now playing better. There are teams that were playing good that are now struggling. A lot of it is like, can you win a close game? Can you manage the game at the end and find a way to scrap it out? So it has been wild. I think that when you watch, we watch all these games as us doing scouts, getting ready for teams, and like some of the finishes have been unbelievable.
Turn takeover probably presented by Stockman Bank of Montana. Stockman Bank has helped present 2 of our favorite things, our trip to Boise as well as our Class C Spotlight, highlighting some of the small schools from around the state of Montana here during hoop season. Couldn't do what we do without Stockman Bank. They also support our ESPN Roundtable as well. Stockman Bank in Montana, only in Montana, and they plan on keeping it that way. Let Stockman Bank So you, Montana's brand of banking. Continue with the Grizz assistant, this time Chris Cobb, the associate head coach for the University of Montana, just on what makes the Big Sky Conference so even. The ups and downs in this league so far, not just for you guys, but for everybody. Portland State's been able to sort of stay one step ahead of everybody else, and I think that was kind of expected given what they returned. But you look at the games, especially, like on the second night of the weekend on Saturdays, and the games are just – last 4 minutes to go, that's 4-point game. No matter who's playing where, there's been a couple blowouts, but not really. So what have you thought of just sort of the tightness within the league and just the margin of victory for your team and everybody else in the conference?
Yeah, I think we knew going into this season that you were going to have that, right, where there's a lot of parity. You look at analytics or you look at data and you can see that there's a lot of parity, right? Like, I don't think the Big Sky's ever had so many teams between, 130 and 250 in KenPom, right? I mean, it showed it in the non-conference. There was a pretty good showing in the non-conference for the league. And then once you get into conference, it's about who shows up that night and who's ready to go. I think you see the teams that have some older guys and have been around a little bit longer are showing that they can maybe be more consistent than others. But you got to show up that night and you got to be ready to go.
When it comes to just building a roster, I know that that's a huge part of you and everybody else on the staff's job. You guys have ebbed and flowed so much in how you guys do that at Montana in recent years. Last year was such a great year with some of the guys that came in that were just one-year guys, but they just, sort of meshed pretty quickly, and you guys were able to win a championship. What's that process like? How do you sort of vet guys and analyze them? Because it seems like it's more than just their basketball skill that goes into if they can come together quickly as a team.
Yeah, I think that we try to make sure that we're recruiting from people that we know or have some familiarity with, just so we have a background on who they are as a young man and what their expectations are and what they're bringing. Last year we had a group that was really selfless, and I think you saw that whether, it was Jensen Bradkey or Jalen Foy or Zach Davidson, whoever went in the game, and it really rotated quite a bit outside of those first 7 guys. Guys were ready to go and they were cheering on their teammates. And I think in college basketball these days, that's the single most important thing, is that you get a group that in February and March has no fracture and is playing together and is playing as one and isn't distracted. I think you get to this time of year with the portal and what is going on with your own individual game or role and expectations, fracture can occur, right? You can kind of lose focus on what your team's doing. So I think when we put it together, we're trying to find the best players, but more importantly than that, guys that want to be a part of a team and want to accept what this community has to offer and really what I think our program has to offer. I think over the 12 years we've been here, it's been about winning. It's been about the team. And we've been consistent with what we can deliver, I think, for the most part. And so we're looking for guys that want those things and value those things.
From this seat, it's been sort of frustrating to watch the fact that, if there's a guy that's like a returning all-league player, there's about an 80% chance that guy's going to leave. Actually, some of the guys that have chosen to stay, the Money Williamses, the Anand Moody's of the world, have been guys that have sort of bought into what you're talking about, the stability of the program there at Montana. But I mean, you look at a guy like Malik Moore, who's, he's sitting there in the Big East averaging like 14 points per game in conference play. That guy should be one of the best players in the Big Sky. Hard to slight him because he's one of the better players in the Big East. So, he's made the jump. But when you think about it broadly, I mean, does it get frustrating at times just knowing that guys can just jump whenever and that there is sort of greener pastures, at least when it comes to the money side of things at the higher level?
Yeah, I think the way that the rules are written now for a guy like Malik that gave us everything while he was here, had a tremendous year, was a great teammate, was a great ambassador for our program on this campus and in this community. We're happy for him, right? The way that it is currently constructed, he took full advantage of it, right? He did exactly what you're supposed to do. You show up, you're 2 feet in wherever you're at. And if that leads to, something positive in your future, then great for you. I wish Malik was still here on our team. But in the current landscape of it and the way that and what he's able to generate from his time here, we're happy for him. I think that that's a great thing for what he did. It's no different than, I was a huge baseball fan. Like if you're play for the Oakland A's and you go to the New York Yankees, there's an element to this that matches kind of that model. But I do think, and I do believe in, hopefully that we can keep guys here for multiple years. I think that that's always been something that we've thrived on. I think you look at guys, I use Tyler Thompson as an example. He redshirted last year. Did we see the gratification or the immediate impact that he's making? Probably not. But you know what? Credit to him, because he used his redshirt year the way it was supposed to be used. He worked really hard. He's got a great attitude. In a lot of ways, he's what this thing has kind of been built on is just toughness and really playing for the front of your jersey. And then so you look up and he's having a great year because of it. So I think, I got into coaching, and I think a lot of us did to impact lives and to deliver a certain type of experience. And we're going to continue to do that, whether it's for 9 months or we get a guy for 4 or 5 years, So I think we're just working and work to really deliver on the standard that we've set, regardless of how long guys are here for.
Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio. Let's hear from Steve Smiley, the head coach of Northern Colorado, on what makes the Big Sky so nip and tuck. Well, Coach, tell me about that part. The league this year, the margin of victory, I think, is the second lowest in all of college basketball. You're sitting there watching on ESPN Plus on a Thursday night, just change it to each different game, and you're going to see a 4 or 6 point game pretty much with 4 minutes to play. It's been crazy how close everybody's been. What do you attribute that to? Why do you think that has been so competitive throughout the league this year?
I just think it's really good. Honestly, I think we're ranked like 16th in the country out of 31 leagues, which is about as high as I've ever seen us. I look at our team specifically. I believe we've had 16 one-possession games, which is like usually that takes 3 or 4 years to get to that many one-possession games. Right. But so many of those have been in the league, and we've had such a ton of great battles. And so I think for the fan perspective and for the intrigue of like, how's this thing going to go down? Like, nobody knows. It's a bunch of good teams. It's a bunch of balance, and it makes it for really exciting basketball in Boise.
Brock, what's it been like to just play in a conference like that? Because it seems like you got to bring your best every night. And, you guys have sort of ridden the roller coaster, but you're on the upswing right now coming into the tournament. So how have you guys been able to endure it? What's it been like just playing night in and night out in the league?
Yeah, there's no nights off when it comes down to the games, and especially when you play Thursday, Saturday, it's kind of just taking one game at a time and also approaching every single game in the same way. So, making sure that we're locked in and we respect every team and we go out there and just make sure we do our best. And I think part of that is just making sure, that we don't let ourselves, we don't beat ourselves. We said it all year, but just making sure that, we do what we can and control what we can and just let the result be.
Our tournament takeover probably presented by Palmer's Drug. Palmer's Drug, locally owned and happy to be your local neighborhood pharmacy. Swing by on 39th and Southwest Higgins to see how local pharmacy can make a difference for you. Palmer's Drug, partners with Lolo Drug. Happy to present the tournament takeover. Dan Monson's been around the block. He's trying to get back to the NCAA tournament. He has been there with Gonzaga and Long Beach State. Now, Eastern Washington, after starting the year 2-13, is one of the favorites to win it all this weekend. They play this evening at 8 o'clock. Here is Dan Monson. You'll see Isaiah Moses, their best player, too, in the picture. But just Dan Monson on just the landscape of college basketball as he sees it. Coach, just the process of a team coming together. You've been doing this a long time. That seems like that's evolved quite a bit with how many new faces there are on a roster in a given year. How has it evolved, do you think, and how do you think this team has done just in terms of coming together and learning how to play out with each other?
Yeah, I don't think you can use that as an excuse or like you could talk about it in the past, because everybody's in the same boat. Whereas back before, when you talk about experience and stuff, it was different because every program was in a different stage. But everybody's starting over every year now, so it doesn't really come into play that much, I don't think. What comes into play is their character and their chemistry with each other. And we spent a lot of time this summer during our summer period that was open. Every Wednesday we would do some activity, from river rafting to go to a movie or bowling or whatever we do. We'd have something planned, and this group just really, I think they really seemed like a team that had been together a lot longer. And I think, you were looking for an answer of, it took us a while to get. I think that's what kept us where, afloat, is that we did have great chemistry. We did feel like we cared about each other, and there was a love for each other, early. And so when we hit the skids and in the preseason, it didn't break us like a team that, and I've had a lot of teams that had, I'm never, 7 seniors is a lot, but I've had a lot of teams with a lot of seniors, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be close or that the chemistries are going to be good on it. But this one definitely, I don't think as a coach, I a lot of years I'd be going crazy, when we're 3-13 or whatever. But with this group, I just tried to stay the course because I believed in them and they believed in us, and it wasn't they're as bad as it was, and Ken Palm had us for a month straight as the unluckiest team in the country, in his metrics, and it was really true. For as unlucky as we were, and as injuries and things going on, these guys never wavered in the fact that they would practice hard and cared about each other. Small margin for error in the Big Sky.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, Coach, because I think it has been 3 years in a row that it's had top 5 in the country, smallest margin of victory in league games, right? I mean, this year I think it's second among all the conferences in the entire United States in terms of average margin of victory in a league game. Why do you think that is? What do you think makes the league so even like it has been the last couple of years?
Well, first of all, I think at this level, the portal and the NIL is the equity across the league. Nobody, everybody's got a little, but nobody's got so much that they're going to just bury you with, talent, or bury you, with having more resources than you have. I think the resources in our league are pretty even from team to team and school to school. And I think for a mid-major league, I think the travel and the home court advantages are significant at this level. I think it's hard to go on the road here and win. It is, I know, in every league, but here between the travel and the equality of the talent and the teams, makes it, anybody can beat any, and everybody says that about their league, and everybody's always, it's a big mantra in this league that everybody can beat everybody, but it really is, after being in the league and not last year, everybody would say that, and I didn't really believe it, because to me, UNC and Montana were significantly better than everybody else, and that proved out, because they were 1 and 2 and ended up playing in a championship game. But this year, I just felt like this is what everybody was talking about with the Big Sky having so much parity.
Talked quite a bit about this with Travis DeCure as well, but we have a full interview with him coming up. So rather than playing that portion of it, we'll just keep on moving. Matt Logie's team lost last night. They certainly had as much adversity as anybody this year, lost a whole bunch of their better players, and then had to play with Patrick McMahon, who's probably their best player. Jed Miller was first team all-conference, and he had the breakout year. But McMahon's been all-conference guy multiple times in a row, and he was hobbled last night. He did not look 100%. So those certainly impacted Logie and the Bobcats. The level playing field, there's just not that many teams there is no teams really in the Big Sky that has so much more NIL money than another. So they're all just sort of scrapping for that second tier of player that you can get out west that you can afford, because all the best guys almost certainly are going and taking the money and going to the Power Four. So it's an interesting dynamic. Logie has been able to win at Montana State, but not at high of a level as Danny Sprinkle did at MSU. Make what you will of that, but certainly Logie's done a good job in my estimation, and I thought this year's job was a great job. I mean, to win 18 games with that few of players, it's not an easy task. So here's Matt Logie, Montana State men's basketball, on just the state of the Big Sky Conference. The league itself has been, all over the place. Like you mentioned, there's been some key injuries that have caused for different matchups to go different ways. But, I mean, look at how many teams are bunched up right there, just a game or two apart in the standings. It seems like the tournament has a chance where there's a lot of teams that are coming in as contenders. What do you make of that? Why do you think the Big Sky does have so much competition this year, and how much does that influence just the way you sort of are on edge going into the tournament?
Well, I mean, for the 3 years that I've been here, this conference has been about as competitive as you're going to find across the country in terms of scoring margins and close games. It's not a league that's had a ton of separation. There've been a couple years, last year I thought Northern Colorado and Montana kind of separated from the pack, but then everybody else in the pack was really, really close. That first year, 2 years ago, Eastern Washington had a very high ceiling, and you could see the level that they were at. But there were a lot of teams that were giving them tough battles every night too. And I think, as more variables in roster construction have become the norm, that creates a great deal of parity. And so you're seeing that across the board. You're not going to find a team, going to Boise next week that doesn't believe they can win 3 games in a row and get to March Madness. And so, that's what makes the tournament setting unique and special. And certainly we've had, the experience here at Montana State of, finishing 5th, my first year in the standings, and then getting hot in the tournament and playing your best basketball at the right time. And really that's what it's all about in terms of getting to March Madness at this level. You've got to play your best in Boise. Anybody can do that if things get rolling the right way.
Well, for you. So then what did it take to win the Big Sky Conference regular season championship? Usually it takes they've got between 18 and 20 games for a long time. It used to be 16 wins was sort of the metric, right? You're going to go 16-4. You're going to win, 4 out of 5 of them, basically. 4 out of every 5 games, right? But now that the 18 games, it's been more like 15-3 has been the common champion. This year the champion 13-5. So the fact that everybody in the league lost at least 5 league games, I mean, shoot, Montana State lost 6 and they finished 2nd. Eastern Washington lost 7 and they finished 3rd. Usually 7 is, 11-7 records getting you 5th, 6th, 7th usually. So just showed you how much the league beat up on each other. Portland State was out in front early on. They won 11 of their first 12 Big Sky Conference games. Then they moved to 12-2, and then they sort of had to hang on. They lost 3 in a row, and they sat there at 12-5. And going into the last day of the regular season, they actually had to win against Weber State to clinch the outright title. Montana State won earlier to put the pressure on, but then Portland State did get it done, one of the last games of the regular season, and they hang their first banner since 2009. J.S. Coburn, the head coach of Portland State, on what it took for his team to actually finish the run. We are coming to you. We're on the way to Boise for the Big Sky Tournament, and we'll have plenty of broadcasting for you from Idaho Central Arena coming up Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So stay tuned for that. But J.S. Coburn, the head coach of the Portland State Vikings, team's ability to sustain, like the ability to sort of be the front runner in first place, but then to be able to finish it and win the outright championship. What did that take?
Yeah, I mean, we led the conference. We were in first place, wire to wire. I mean, I don't think we were ever in second place. So the whole conference season. So. I mean, it's probably one of the most resilient groups I've ever coached. We've been pretty resilient within games. We've been pretty resilient after losses. I know we lost 3 games on the stretch, but everything ended up working out perfectly. That night against Eastern Washington when we lost, if we would have won that game, we would have had to come back and celebrate. And, winning it at Montana State and celebrating in their locker room didn't sound great. Doing it in Montana and celebrating in their locker room in Missoula, that didn't sound great. And so we couldn't have wrote a better story for us to be able to come home and do it on senior night, in front of our people, in front of our fans that our attendance grew all year long. I couldn't be more proud to be able to do it in front of our people. That was awesome. It ended up working out perfectly. And as I told the team, sometimes it's just meant to be that way. So.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, just the sort of the dynamic of you guys have been fighting to get to this spot. And then, about midway through league play, I think it was pretty clear that you guys were the team to beat. Mm-hmm. What's the mental adjustment like when you sort of go from the team that, is trying to get to the top to the team that maybe has a target on their back?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different feeling. It's definitely different. And we hadn't been in this position before at Portland State. So we had to make some adjustments to go along the way, but I think it was a lot of just trying to stay ahead of everybody else. and just trying to, be the best coach I could be and prepare our guys the way that we felt like was best for our players, and, make adjustments in games too. So there was a lot of that going on this year, as opposed to maybe other years. It was a little bit different.
We've talked about your defense a lot, but just the fact that you had multiple guys that were veterans within the system, how much did that just help buoy you guys, and how much did just the familiarity with each other help you have such great defensive numbers?
Oh, I mean, it was huge, because, we had 7 guys come back, and 2 guys had redshirted, and we were all speaking the same language from day one, and then for the new players to come in and adapt to how we do things and how we play defense, because, we do things a little bit differently. So it was, it was really good. And we did a good job in recruiting, figuring out the guys that could fit our system defensively, or improve it really. So I felt like we did a really good job when it came to that. And we just have all reached a certain point now where we're all speaking the same language. We can make adjustments on the fly. We can make adjustments game to game. And so that's when you have a good defense, is when everybody's on the same page.
Well, obviously, when you took this job, you wanted to bring it to a conference champion level.
Mm-hmm.
How much does this team fit maybe how you envisioned a conference champion would look for you? I mean, how much does this team sort of molded in your image, or maybe not? I mean, how much does it fit how you maybe envisioned how it would be to get to a conference championship level?
Yeah, no, they fit exactly what champions are. Through their work ethic, like the guys are in the gym all the time, getting up extra shots, and through their practice habits, how hard they practice, their coachability. People ask me all the time about like college basketball, and do players want to be coached? And I always answer like ours do. Like I can't speak to other teams, but our players love to be coached. And so, and it's our culture's great. Like we got great leadership. And then it carries over to the games. They're good people off the floor. I can't tell you how many emails this year I've gotten from just strangers talking about how respectful and great our team was in an airport or on a plane or in a hotel or in a restaurant. They're great students. We had the highest GPA that Portland State's ever had. And so I think when you add all of that together, it's a formula for championship. And so, I enjoy seeing those guys every single day. I'm really going to miss our seniors, but they've done a really good job of like setting a standard for the culture of Portland State. And, the former players did too. Like, I mean, this has been a thing that's been in the works for a while. We've progressively gotten better every single year, and it's because those particular groups have raised the bar on each other. They compete with each other. And, so winning a championship for this particular team is awesome because we have championship basketball players and championship people. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
Tournament Takeover, probably presented by Stockman Bank of Montana, Palmer's Drug of Missoula. Bob Ward's, bunch of spring stuff on sale right now, and Blackfoot Communications. Be sure to check out our watch parties on March 19th for the first day of the NCAA tournament and March 20th for the second day of the NCAA tournament. I'll be hanging out at the press box on Thursday and the R-Bar next Friday, and we'll have a live Nuanez Now from those two places as well. So coming out with us, that's on behalf of Blackfoot Communications. We'll take a break, come back. Jeff Saffer will give you a real-time update on what's going down at the Big Sky Conference tournament with both the women's games in the books. Hour number 2, we have Steve Smiley, the head coach of Northern Colorado, coming your way, and Travis DeCuire, the head coach of the Montana Grizzlies. Grizzmen tip at 5:30 this evening. They're the only Montana team in action here on this Monday. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here. You're listening to 102.9 FM ESPN Radio.
Over 20 years ago, Farmer State Bank pledged to fund a $10,000 scholarship in each community where we're located. We've grown, and that promise has grown with us. This year, Farmer State Bank will award 9 $10,000 scholarships to qualifying high school seniors. That's community banking, supporting the people and places we call home. Bank with us, and you're part of this too. Farmer State Bank, your Montana bank since 1907, member FDIC.
Oh, Oh man, icy roads can be hard on your vehicle, but the pros at Blue Ribbon Auto Body take pride in restoring your car or truck back to pre-accident condition, helping you maintain your investment. Did you know that you have the right to choose your auto body shop for peace of mind? So why choose anything less than Blue Ribbon Work after your fender bender? Blue Ribbon Work from the pros, found only at Blue Ribbon Auto, where your ride is our pride. Cedar Street in Missoula and Thornton Drive by the Y.
Medicare loses $60 million in Montana each year, $60 billion nationally. Medicare processes 4.5 million claims a day. They don't know who your doctor is, but you do. Mistakes can happen. Read your Medicare statements and call Montana Senior Medicare Patrol if you see anything unexpected. 1-800-551-3191. This project is supported by a grant by the Administration for Community Living.
Are you paying too much for your trash removal? If you're paying over $34 per month for trash and over $25 per month for recycling, you are paying too much. Grizzly Disposal offers reliable and affordable trash and recycling collection with the best customer service in town. It's easy to change. Just call 406-541-7171 or visit grizzlydisposal.com. Right now, when everything is overpriced, trash and recycling shouldn't be. Grizzly Disposal, the only bears that should be in your garbage and recycling.
The Press Box is the place to watch all your favorite sports. In the heart of Grizz Country, Press Box has great food and drinks with happy hour and lunch specials every weekday. Don't forget, Press Box has the best happy hour deal in town, Monday through Friday, between 4 and 6, $3 draft beers. That's right, any draft beer at the Press Box, from domestic light beers to IPAs to everything in between, $3 drafts between 4 and 6, Monday through Friday at the Press Box. Press Box also has 2 sports bet machines, so you can always get your bets in before the game starts. The Press Box on Broadway and Van Buren in Missoula.
If the USS Montana must go to war beneath the sea, the crew will be called to battle stations by a war song like those that inspired our state's first people. In any conflict to which she's sent, the Montana sailors will take with them a warrior spirit and the best, most lethal technology. Join us in supporting SSN 794 and all who sail aboard her in defense of our nation. USSMontanaCommittee.us.
It's Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
Wrapping up the first hour of a Monday edition of Nuanez Now here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company on SWX Montana, the ESPN MT app. And don't forget about our YouTube page. Be sure to subscribe to that. I'm Jeff Safford here in studio. Speaking of the ESPN MT YouTube page, maybe you had a chance to catch some awesome Grizzly lacrosse action this weekend. Also, shout out to a new student group at the University of Montana. They were streaming some college rugby on our ESPN MT YouTube page. Cool stuff. Had audiences coming in from Scotland, England, all these crazy areas to catch some college rugby. How sweet was that? But awesome stuff in the first hour with Colter Nuanez, getting you through coverage of the Big Sky Conference basketball tournament. He'll be have plenty more on that this week. He is en route to the other Garden City as we speak. And in the last few minutes on the girls' side of the bracket at the Big Sky Conference tournament over in Boise, we got ourselves another upset. A Montana native, a big part of it. I remember covering Courtney Grossman a few years ago at the Class AA state basketball tournament while still with Billings West. I was actually talking about this with Hayden Smith off mic, how when she was at Billings West, she was more of a guard player. Interesting that she makes the switch to more of a post player in college. You would think it would be the inverse of that typically. But Courtney Grossman, the leading scorer for the Eagles this afternoon, in an upset win over Northern Colorado. They outscore the Bears 16-7 in the fourth quarter and get themselves a 55-53 win. So maybe some reaction to that game coming tomorrow from Colter Nuanez. But a final from the Big Sky Conference tournament in Boise. Again, the Lady Eagles of Eastern Washington over Northern Colorado, 55-53. led by Courtney Grossman, close to a double-double. She had 11 points and 8 boards for the Eagles, who move on in that Big Sky Conference tournament. Now, alluded to it, thinking of Grizzly lacrosse at home this past weekend, 3 games in as many days at Washington Grizzly Stadium. A lot of fun to cover that on the ESPN MT app and also on our YouTube page. I would say the Grizzlies had their way with their trio of opponents. Gonzaga on Friday night, Central Washington on Saturday, and then the University of Idaho yesterday. 3 wins by a combined score of 62-10 in 3 games for Grizzlax. Crazy for Tucker Sargent and the Grizzlies, just in all facets. Joey Courtner, their All-American goalie, was outstanding in the 3 games. Sully Kroger, All-Conference attackman, he had 3 awesome games. Montana, number 5 nationally ranked, they moved their record to 7-0 on the season. So great stuff for Tucker Sargent, and Grizzly Lacrosse will get you more content around Grizzlax throughout the course of the week and season right here on ESPN MT. In hour number 2, plenty more with Colter Nuanez coming up, talking Big Sky Conference, more hoops, I'm sure a lot of fun stuff on a Monday afternoon. 102.9 ESPN Missoula, back with hour number 2 after this.
It's tournament time. Buzzer beaters, underdog stories, and the best deals at Bob Ward's. Get off the couch and into the game at Montana's oldest sporting goods retailer. Baseball gloves, bats and cleats, soccer balls, shin guards, and training gear. Whether you're cutting down nets or cutting across the outfield, Bob Ward's has the gear you need. Discounts on top name brands across every department. Savings in camping, fishing, and everything outdoors. Don't miss your shop. Shop Bob Ward's, sports and outdoors, Montana style.
Spartan's Tuning and Missoula's most trusted truck and auto repair shop, servicing foreign and domestic makes and models. But that's not all. Spartan's Tuning is equipped with cutting-edge ADAS calibration technology, making sure your car's advanced driver assist systems like lane assist and automatic braking are in top shape. And with AAA approval, Spartan Tuning is Missoula's most go-to shop for quality, reliable service you can trust. Visit SpartansTuning.com for more info or call 406-728-4081.
Missoula, how are those brackets holding up? March basketball is unpredictable. Your business connection shouldn't be. Blackfoot Communications is proud to serve Missoula as your local provider of voice, internet, and managed services. Join Blackfoot at the Press Box on March 19th for a watch party with some customer appreciation. Local team, reliable connections, championship-level service, that's Blackfoot. Learn more about what Blackfoot does for the Missoula businesses across our community. Visit blackfoot.com.
Buying a car shouldn't be an adventure, and at Missoula Chevrolet, it's not. Their team isn't paid on commission, so there's no pressure. Just honest help finding the right vehicle for you. You'll get real cash value for your trade, and the price you see, that's the price you pay. No back and forth, no guessing, no trail of fine print, just one low price, plain and simple always. So if you're ready for a smoother ride, on or off the road, head to Missoula Chevrolet and shop hundreds of vehicles in stock. Together, let's drive.
You might be thinking, what's the big deal about a kids menu? Well, once you have kids, you know. It seems like it's getting harder and harder to find kid-friendly meals at affordable prices. At Paradise Falls, the kids menu is not only diverse, it's a total steal. For some of the cheapest prices in town, you can get hamburgers, mac and cheese, and other kid favorites for super low prices. Paradise Falls is a family-friendly restaurant open 7 days a week. Come enjoy a meal with your kiddos in Paradise at Paradise Falls, 3621 Brook Street, Missoula's coolest hotspot.
Attention Missoula and Ravalli County nonprofits. Registration is now open for the Missoula and Bitterroot Gives, a 26-hour online celebration of our nonprofit community hosted by Missoula Community Foundation. This is an opportunity to raise funds and awareness for your organization through an online platform that engages your supporters and the entire community. Participating nonprofits can win matching dollars, prizes, and more during the Day of Giving on April 30th and May 1st. Register your Missoula and Ravalli County nonprofit today at missoulagives.org.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Two of Montana's 4 Division I basketball teams had their seasons come to an end in Boise. Hello, I'm Jeff Safford. In the second Sunday game of the women's tournament, Montana State had no trouble against the struggling Lady Grizz. Behind 13 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 steals from Big Sky Conference MVP Taylor Chirick, MSU cruised to a 78-57 win over Montana. Montana State's 3 victories over UM this season came by an average of 26 points per game. Second-seeded Montana State moves into the semifinals of the tournament for the 3rd year in a row. The Lady Grizz, who earned a 61-60 win over Northern Arizona in Saturday's first round, finished the season with a 9-22 record. The 9 wins marks the second lowest win total for the Lady Grizz since 1977. Shannon Schwayen won 7 games in her first season the year after legendary head coach Robin Selvig retired. The Montana State men were on the wrong side of the first upset of the tournament on Sunday night. The short-handed Bobcats played Idaho with just 7 available players. Idaho won for the second night in a row, earning a 78-74 victory to move into the semis. Jeremiah Davis went 9 of 10 from the floor and scored a game-high 22 points, while Christian King was 9 of 13 and had 21. But it wasn't enough, as MSU finished the season at 18-14. The Montana men play Northern Colorado tonight in Boise.
This is Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
Yo, what's up, Montana? Welcome back. 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the big ESPN MT app. Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal studio. Grizzly Disposal has 1 bin recycling now. If you want to get it picked up at your house, anything from cardboard to plastic to cans, Grizzly Disposal can do it twice a month. Want to make the switch or add the service or both? Call 406-541-7171. That's 406-541-7171. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran-owned, the only Bears that should be in your garbage. On our way to Boise, Idaho, Montana men's basketball coming up here in a little bit less than half an hour. So appreciate everybody for tuning in. We're going to preview that game. You're going to be hearing from first Steve Smiley, the head coach of Northern Colorado, and then Travis DeCuire, the head coach of the University of Montana. And that will sort of lead us into the game. Will actually probably tip by the time we get done hearing from Travis. We recorded this with him last week, so appreciate him for making the effort and for letting us record with him. But that's how hour number 2 is going to look. If you missed anything in hour number 1, we heard from a variety of different subjects, a variety of different head coaches and assistant coaches from around Big Sky men's basketball, just on what this whole dynamic has settled into. Why are all the games in league play so nip and tuck? Why are they so close? We also went through all the state tournament contenders from across high school hoops with state championships on the horizon this upcoming weekend. And we also give you a real-time update of what's going down at the Big Sky tournament. All that on hour number 1 of the Nuanez Now podcast. Please rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. You want to stream us, you always can, 1029ESPN.com. You can also use that ESPN MT app. Please go subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Great way to follow along to this show, either live and or archived. And just press that subscribe button. It certainly does us a ton of help. Our tournament takeover probably presented in part by Bob Ward Sports and Outdoors. Spring sports officially here. Once we turn the page from basketball here next week, it's going to be on. We're talking soccer, baseball, softball, lacrosse. If you got an athlete in the house, you know it's go time. Before that first whistle blows, make one stop, Bob Ward's. They got the new releases hitting the floor, everything from fresh gloves, bats, cleats, soccer balls, training gear, everything your athlete needs to stay strong all season. The best part, all you need to do is stop at one place instead of running all over town. Don't sleep on the winter clearance. This is your last chance at savings. Once it's gone, it's gone. And their apparel and soft goods clearance is live now, too. We're talking hoodies, athletic wear, and a whole lot of serious discounts. Huge savings, top name brands, all under one roof. Shop Bob Ward's, Montana's oldest sporting goods retailer, and get geared up for the season the right way. Before we get to the previewing this Grizz game, got to put a bow on the Lady Grizz game. We'll probably talk about this a little bit during tomorrow's show as well. But Lady Grizz lost to Montana State. That's the 3rd time they've lost to the Bobcats. You got 2 programs that are completely diametrically opposed right now. Montana State, the trajectory is straight through the roof. They don't have a senior on their team, and even though they're the 2 seed, I still think they're the favorite to win this tournament. I don't know how you deal with their defense for 40 minutes. I think it's completely diabolical. I think it's as dangerous of a defensive attack as you got. But then you got the Lady Grizz, and what is their identity? If it's the 5-out offense, if it's just jacking threes, all right, but it's just not going to get you very far. I thought the Lady Grizz had a talent problem and an identity problem this year. I hope that's not too harsh, but when you only win 9 games at the University of Montana, and to put that in perspective, Shannon Schwain won 7 games her first year, 2016, taking over for Robin Selvig. Those are the only 2 single-digit seasons in the last 50 for Lady Grizz. So it's historic. And again, they had a lot of adversity, but a lot of teams had a lot of adversity. And to me, they just got to get better. Like I said towards the end of the year, for where they were at, just with how far behind the 8 ball they were, you got to get to double-digit wins. Then when that became elusive, you got to get a conference tournament win to take any modicum of momentum into the offseason. So they did that. I thought they got great performances from Ray Ehrman and Kennedy Gillette, 2 people that had maybe been inconsistent, if not non-factors throughout the year. So I think those 2 young ladies are worth considering as people to bring back next year. They add a talented recruiting class. That's certainly going to boost them up. They got to find a point guard. Matt Koenig, I thought, had a disappointing senior year, both because of injury, illness, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But that's certainly not the way probably she hoped to go out or that they hoped she went out. But I do think you have a chance to actually upgrade the point guard spot just in terms of the fit for your team and like what you want your program to be about. I mean, Coach Harris is running this 5-out offense right now because that's the personnel they had last year. It's the carryover into this year. He's a defensive guy. He was like the defensive coach at Montana State when he first broke into the Big Sky, coached some really good defenses there. So I know that's what he wants to be, and I know that's what Montana has always been. They're bringing in a couple key pieces next year, led by Avery DeCoit from Big Sky, who's a great defensive player. So like that could certainly help form that identity that I'm talking about. But I think it's just an interesting time because there's a whole bunch of factors that went into this year. From Koenig being out for a whole bunch of time to just a lack of depth and talent. I think a lot of that stems not necessarily even just from this staff. I think that when you have a controversial situation, I know Brian Holsinger was not officially fired or dismissed. It was basically just like a parting of ways, a contract release basically. But that was a bad situation. It was an ugly situation at Montana. And they got out from under it. They moved on from it. But it was a tough situation to inherit. And then Coach Harris got the first-time coach bump where, they go on the run to the NCAA tournament, or to the Big Sky Tournament Championship game, They're 1 rebound away from going to the NCAAs. And then they weren't able to recapture that magic. That's not that uncommon. So to me, I think you just got to turn the page. You got to upgrade the talent. You got to define the identity. You got to have a big year in year 2 under Nate Harris because it's certainly the precedent that has been set by the program. Nuanez Now 102.9 ESPN Radio. Northern Colorado and Montana have had their battles in men's Big Sky hoops over the years. I feel like they play in the tournament more often than not. Last year's championship game was an excellent effort by the Grizz. They shot almost 70% from the floor. They ran Northern Colorado straight out of the gym. Northern Colorado played tremendous. They shot 60% as a team. But Montana still won and went to the NCAA tournament. This isn't the championship, but it's a rematch of the championship. I think these 2 teams, they're actually 2 of the best teams in the league, even though this is the 4th and the 5th seed. Northern Colorado had the great non-conference, then the terrible start to conference play, just 1-7, but then they really turned it around, and they and Eastern Washington are the 2 hottest teams in the conference coming into this Big Sky tournament. Montana has had these great bright spots, like winning at UNLV, sweeping Portland State, but they also have these just glaring weird holes, like getting swept by Eastern Washington, getting swept by the Cats. They've been inconsistent all over the place, but they still have such a high ceiling because they have one of the best players in the conference in Money Williams. They got a stalwart like Tajon Sawyer on the block. I mean, they have talent all over the place. This is 2 teams that I think that they're going to be hungry to not go out one and done. I love Quinn Denkart, the combo guard for Northern Colorado. I think he's a really tough player. I love Brock Wisney. He's a multiple-year starter, a hometown kid from Thornton, Colorado. And we talked about him with Steve Smiley. So this team certainly has the ability to make some noise. We'll see if they can. Here's the head coach of the Bears, as well as his stud big man, Brock Wisney, headed into tonight's Big Sky Conference tournament game between Northern Colorado and Montana. Big Sky and Boise, our tournament takeover continues here. We check in with Northern Colorado men's hoops. They take on Montana in the second day of men's action. here in Boise. The head coach of UNC, Steve Smiley, as well as a senior big man for the Bears, Brock Wisney, joining us. Guys, thanks for being here. How you guys doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. We're excited to get out to Boise soon and just grinding away here.
Yes, same culture. Thanks for having us. We're excited. A week or two ago, we did not even know what day we were leaving. We had flights booked on Thursday and Saturday, and which is not ideal. But once we finally were able to lock into a top 6 seed, we knew our fate would be Saturday flight to play on Monday. So at least we solved that, and we're excited to get out there.
Well, Coach, tell me about that part. The league this year, I mean, the margin of victory, I think, is the second lowest in all of college basketball. I mean, you sitting there watching on ESPN Plus on a Thursday night, just change it to each different game, and you're going to see a 4 or 6 point game pretty much with 4 minutes to play. I mean, it's been crazy how close everybody's been. What do you attribute that to? Why do you think that has been so competitive throughout the league this year?
I just think it's really good. Honestly, I think we're ranked like 16th in the country out of 31 leagues, which is about as high as I've ever seen us. I look at our team specifically. I believe we've had 16 one-possession games, which is like usually that takes 3 or 4 years to get to that many one-possession games. Right. But so many of those have been in the league, and we've had such a ton of great battles. And so I think for the fan perspective and for the intrigue of like, how's this thing going to go down? Like, nobody knows. It's a bunch of good teams. It's a bunch of balance, and it makes it for really exciting basketball in Boise.
Brock, what's it been like to just play in a conference like that? Because it seems like you got to bring your best every night. And I mean, you guys have sort of ridden the roller coaster, but you're on the upswing right now coming into the tournament. So how have you guys been able to endure it? What's it been like just playing night in and night out in the league?
Yeah, there's no nights off when it comes down to the games. And especially when you play Thursday, Saturday, it's kind of just taking one game at a time and also approaching every single game in the same way. So making sure that we're locked in and we respect every team and we go out there and just make sure we do our best. And I think part of that is just making sure, that we don't let ourselves, we don't beat ourselves. We said it all year, but just making sure that, we do what we can and control what we can and just let the result be.
Coach, you guys had a great non-conference and then tough start to conference play, but then you've really turned it around the second half of conference play. So take me through just sort of like the 3 chapters of your season this year.
That's how we sold it to the guys when we were at the end of chapter 2, which was a bad chapter. So we were, we were 9-1. We were 10-3, the best start in the history of our school, the best non-con ever. Beat, CU, which is a big deal out here for the first time in, a century, 100 years. And next thing you know, literally like 2 weeks later, because it happened quick, we're 1-7 in league play, and we're dead last. And so, we kind of told the guys, try to break it in like just into that 9-1, and then it was 2-8. So 9-1, then it was 2-8 in the second 10. We said, guys, look, we got 11 games left. We're in a bad spot. Like, let's just call it what it is. But can we find some way to just get back to becoming a winning program again, right? And with 11 games left, the math said, can we just get to 6-5? And if we do that, felt like, maybe we can get up to that 7-6 range where, maybe we can, get into the only have to play 3 games to win it as opposed to 4. And I think that's a big difference. And, lo and behold, our guys did a great job as 6-5 actually turned into 9-2. And they were able to flush that second part, have the maturity to keep moving on. I think like what Brock said, like one of my big things personally is just trying to say surrender the outcome, right? Like let's do everything we can to prepare, but like let's just surrender the outcome and stay process based. And so brutal second stretch, brutal second chapter. It was hard. A lot of people jumping off the bus or the boat or whatever it is, but the people in that room stayed the course, and now here we are playing really good basketball.
Brock, what was the key to turning it, and how were you guys able to sort of mentally stay in the fight and then fight down the stretch so well like you did?
Yeah, it's hard because it gets a little mundane, especially when we were 1-7 at the time, and we were thinking like, man, like what's going wrong? We felt like we were doing everything right up till this point, and I think it just takes everybody just like Coach said, staying in the bubble of ourselves, realizing that it's not going to be easy, but just trusting each other. And we had a little players only meeting that went well with the guys, and we came together and we talked about what we think is going well, what's going wrong, and just realizing that if we want this season to flip back to how it started, we're going to have everybody dive in, from the guys on the floor all the way to the people redshirting at the end of the bench, just making sure the team culture sticks together.
And Coach, just getting a senior guard like Quinn back, how much did that help you guys?
It was huge. For us, we looked at we felt like our floor was really high because having Quinn, Brock, and Zach back as the nucleus of this team, we knew like those three guys, like those are three of the best leaders and winners we've ever seen. They're not going to allow us to lose. Now, our ceiling had to be guys coming up through the program that maybe were younger, didn't play a lot, and then obviously our guys that we brought in that, from the portal or whatever. So that's where our ceiling would get determined. But we felt our floor was going to be really good. And going to Quinn specifically, like what a great story and like how he's led. And it's not just about his stats and those things are really cool, but like that dude is an everyday guy, as is Brock, as is Zach, but he brings an infectious amount of energy and he is what he is. And he's going to be out there. He's going to compete every day. He's going to compete in warmups. He's going to compete in everything. And it just brings a great vibe to our practice and to our team. And, when you hit the adversity like we hit in that second chapter, like we needed guys like Quinn, Brock, Zach to really come together and find a way to continue to stay player-led. But to your question, Coulter, like Quinn has been an absolute joy. And it's all real, too. Like people wonder, is it real? Like his leadership is real. It's not fake. It's real.
Steve Smiley, head coach of Northern Colorado, and Brock Wisney, senior post for the Bears, joining us here on 102.9 ESPN Radio, as well as SWX Montana Television. Bears take on Montana here momentarily in Boise, Idaho. Brock, how about just sort of your career here? Because you're from right up the road. I think that's one thing that you guys have that a lot of schools maybe in the Big Sky don't have is the ability to recruit, relatively local guys. But then you guys have been able to keep some guys that have been relatively local as well, like Langston Reynolds, yourself. So what's kept you there in Greeley? What's the experience been like just playing sort of close to home and having a great senior year?
Yeah, it's been awesome being close to home. One, I'm a big family guy, so my family's at pretty much every single home game, and just being able to see them each time and consistently throughout the season is it's a big supporting thing for me. And the community here is awesome. But when it really boils down to it, I think that I'm a big loyalty guy, and the coaches, they believed in me from the start, and when I came in, they helped build me into who I am. And I think that when you have people that back you like that, I don't see a reason to leave or think that the grass is going to be greener anywhere else. And I know it's different nowadays with the transfer portal, but I've been so blessed to, be with a staff that's been together all 4 years as well, the coaching carousel and all the crazy stuff. But I think that it's partially, the fact that I appreciate them and I'm loyal to them. And also, that I've been blessed that, they've built a group and that stayed together through so long.
Coach, just having guys that are relatively local that have also been some of the best players in the Big Sky, I mean, that's a great advantage for Northern Colorado. How have you been able to continue to cultivate that, and what has that meant to you, guys like Brock, just staying and playing all throughout their career for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll have to continue to evaluate and recruit and sign those younger guys. And like we've got two younger guys that are coming in that are local, Drew Payne from Thunder Ridge High School and Jeremiah Hammond, who was at Cherry Creek High School and now is at Colorado Prep. So we got to keep doing it. But I think we look at it like even going back a decade when I came in here as an assistant for Coach Jeff Linder, we're both Colorado guys. And we said, hey, if we can rebuild this the way that Tad Boyle built it, he did the same thing. Tad, you can't have your whole team from Colorado, but Tad did such a great job of getting Devin Beitzel and getting Neil Kingman and Taylor Montgomery, and I could go on and on and on, but he found a way to get local guys to build the nucleus around. And that was always our goal. And when we kind of got this thing flipped around, Bodie Hume, Dalen Kuntz, the early adopters, Sam Maston, Jalen Sanders, guys like that made it acceptable and cool for the local younger kids to be recruited by the Bears. And so for a guy like Brock or Langston. So we just got to keep doing our job. But I do think that, like Brock mentioned, I think you have a better chance because we have our challenges here like anywhere else with limited resources and the NIL and all this different stuff. But like I think we have a better chance to hopefully hold on to some kids and retain some kids when their family is 20 minutes down the road or 30 minutes down the road. And it doesn't always work that way, and that's okay. But you got a better chance when they've got a connection to not only our school, but to our state and the families and stuff like that. And I think we got to keep trying to do that. But Brock's a great example of someone that, I mean, the grass could have been greener, and there's plenty of people who are trying to show them the grass was greener, and Brock stayed the whole time, and we really appreciate it. A guy like Zach Block, too, he's been here for 5 years. And but having local players we've always felt like that's where we can kind of build this thing around, and we just got to keep doing our jobs as we move forward.
Well, yeah, this is a great point. I mean, like Montana State wins the football national championship this year, and some of those guys are, they're from Bozeman or they're from Billings, and those guys could have gone a lot of places, but they stayed. And I think it's cool when you do have local guys that stay. Let's talk about this matchup coming up with the Grizz. You guys have always had your battles throughout the years with Montana, but you guys had a great performance on Monday night. So first for you, Brock, how much can you take from that? How much do you carry momentum having played a team, less than a week ago when you take the court?
Yeah, I think the momentum's great, but it's definitely a balance of, still respecting them and understanding it's not going to be easy. They're a winning program, and they're going to have their motivations as well. They're not going to want to be beat by that again. And they got winning players. Money's great, Sawyer, those guys that are experienced, and there's a lot of stuff that we take from it. The stuff that we did well, obviously, to win by that much, but also understanding that they're going to see the stuff they did poorly in that game, and they're going to come back and respond. So just understanding it's a new game. It starts 0-0 once again. And just if we approach it the right way, the momentum that we have from it is an advantage, but it could also be a disadvantage if we're immature about it.
Coach, what are your keys against Montana this evening?
Yeah, it's the same thing like Brock said. Just maturity is the first thing, and like that fine line between confidence and cockiness, right? That's a very fine line. And at the end of the day, we beat them at our place. They beat us at their place. It's 1-1, and they have so much championship winning DNA in their culture. And Coach DeCure and his staff, like, they're elite. They know what they're doing. And so I guarantee you, from the moment the game finished in Greeley, they have been preparing for this next round once they saw that we were matched up. And so they're going to do everything they can, both on the court and from the psychological standpoint, to get their team ready to go. And we'll get the best version of them. There's no doubt about it. So I think keys obviously is kind of what we saw is you can't eliminate Money Williams, but can you limit his impact on the game? He's one of the few players in the league that can go give you 30 or 40. So can you make it really hard on him? I think too is just the way that they play with all the ball screens. Can we show them a bunch of bodies in the gaps and have activity off the ball? I thought we did a great job of that defensively. And then on the other end of the court, so much of when we get good is if we get stops. And I know it's very simple, but our defense leads to offense because we're so good in transition. So can we get enough stops, and then can we also limit our fouls, which we did a good job of in the last game, but we've struggled all year fouling too much. And if we can limit our fouls and get out in transition, that would be a great thing for us for sure.
Well, Colorado, Montana this evening in Boise. Guys, thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Coulter.
Thank you.
I noticed a charge on my Medicare statement for a test I don't remember having.
My doctor said my insurance denied the service, and I owe money.
I was in an accident, and Medicare denied my claims.
If you need help resolving medical bills where Medicare is involved, call Montana Senior Medicare Patrol. They can help sort things out. Call 800-551-3191. This project is supported by a grant by the Administration for Community Living.
Blue Ribbon Audio and Accessories has one of the best showrooms in the Northwest, with everything from mobile audio and video to the most rugged truck accessories. The pros at Blue Ribbon install LED lighting, remote starts, seat heaters, and backup cameras, and the best truck toppers, including ARE, Lear Ranch, and modular stainless RSI smart caps, with many models available overnight. We're also your HQ for spray-on mil-spec bed liners with a lifetime warranty. Blue Ribbon Audio and Accessories, where your ride is our pride.
The wait is over. Grizzly Disposal is now offering no-sort recycling. No more sorting and dragging it across town. They'll get it right from your house. Cans, cardboard, and plastic all in one bin. Handled by Grizzly Disposal. Visit grizzlydisposal.com to add on recycling to your plan or to switch over to Grizzly Disposal today. Give them a call, 541-7171. That's 541-7171. The best trash removal service in town just got better. Grizzly Disposal, the only bears that should be in your garbage.
Cold weather cravings? The Montana Club has got you covered with scratch-made comfort food to match every craving. From perfectly grilled steaks to satisfying salads, they're ready to handle your hunger. So grab a table with a reservation or keep it casual and order delivery straight to your door. Great food made easy. Visit MontanaClub.com to order or reserve and come warm up at your Montana Club. Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Fundraising fundraising is not always a popular word. Then you throw in some parents who don't really know how to do it, and it can become stressful. Vertical Raise can implement hands-on with any high school sports team to help maximize your fundraising efforts. Peter Hamill is an expert in making the process easy and ensuring your team gets the biggest check possible, so your season can go smoothly. Vertical Raise can help provide opportunities for family and friends of your kids to support them from afar. Not everyone can come watch a game, but plenty can contribute to a great cause. To find out how Vertical Raise can help your organization raise money, visit verticalraise.com.
Missoula Police Department and Missoula Parks and Recreation are reminding the public that most of Mount Jumbo remains closed to recreational use during the winter months. The majority of this 1,600-acre mountain is closed until March 15th, with the northern 650 acres closed until May 1st to protect the resident elk herd and other wildlife. Partners who manage the Mount Jumbo Wildlife Management Area appreciate the community's cooperation to protect Mount Jumbo's wildlife and preserve a unique Missoula amenity. Details at missoulaparks.org.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Two of Montana's 4 Division I basketball teams had their seasons come to an end in Boise. Hello, I'm Jeff Safford. In the second Sunday game of the women's tournament, Montana State had no trouble against the struggling Lady Grizz. Behind 13 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 steals from Big Sky Conference MVP Taylor Chirick, MSU cruised to a 78-57 win over Montana. Montana State's 3 victories over UM this season came by an average of 26 points per game. Second-seeded Montana State moves into the semifinals of the tournament for the 3rd year in a row. The Lady Grizz, who earned a 61-60 win over Northern Arizona in Saturday's first round, finished the season with a 9-22 record. The 9 wins marks the second lowest win total for the Lady Grizz since 1977. Shannon Schwayen won 7 games in her first season the year after legendary head coach Robin Selvig retired. The Montana State men were on the wrong side of the first upset of the tournament on Sunday night. The short-handed Bobcats played Idaho with just 7 available players. Idaho won for the second night in a row, earning a 78-74 victory to move into the semis. Jeremiah Davis went 9 of 10 from the floor and scored a game-high 22 points, while Christian King was 9 of 13 and had 21. But it wasn't enough, as MSU finished the season at 18-14. The Montana men play Northern Colorado tonight in Boise.
Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
Nuanez Now, 129 ESPN Radio. Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran-owned. The only Bears that should be in your garbage. We're on our way to Boise, Idaho. So once we are there, we'll be having Nuanez Now live from Idaho Central Arena. A little bit weird timing because just the way that the flights are working, but the Grizz have tipped. Jeff Safford, Hayden Smith will give you an update on that game. But let's keep on talking Grizz as we hear from the head coach of the University of Montana, Travis DeCuire. He's in year 12. He went back to the NCAA tournament last year for the first time in several years, but the 3rd time in his career. He's done a really good job at Montana. It's just been such an interesting arc because when he first got there, Montana was on the rise. Those teams, when they went back-to-back, those are 2 of the best teams I've ever covered in any sport in the Big Sky. They were unbelievable to watch, unbelievable to be around. The buzz was palpable. You could sort of tell the energy around the program. They thought they were going to become a bona fide mid-major power. And then when the pandemic hit, it derailed a whole bunch of stuff for Montana. Then they were sort of in the doldrums of mediocrity for several years. But they got it back on track 3 years ago. They won 24 games. They went to the tournament championship game. They didn't win that game against Montana State, but that sort of set the table. Last year, they brought in some really great transfers, including Joe Pridgeon, who took the league by storm, was a first-team all-conference player. Kai Johnson was a super impactful guy as well. And then they got great veteran steadying presence from a guy like Brandon Whitney, senior point guard. Well, then they graduated. They had a full senior starting lineup 2 years ago. They had a full senior starting lineup other than Tejon Sawyer last year because Money Williams came off the bench last year. And then this year they had to figure out a way to sort of reload. This Grizz team only has 2 seniors, Trey Taylor and Tejon Sawyer. They start multiple freshmen in Kenyon Aguino and Grant Kepley. Tyler Thompson has also been in the starting lineup as a freshman. So they're a young team. It's Money Williams, Tejon Sawyer, and then a whole bunch of young guys that don't have a ton of experience. That's caused for some inconsistencies. I do think the Grizz come in, though, as a team that could make a run in this tournament just because of their top-end talent and because of who their head coach is. Travis DeCuire has proven he can get to the championship game. I think he's been in 6 championship games in the last 11 years. So he knows how to get there. And he knows how to manipulate games to get there too, right? To coach, if his team's in the mix, they show up that night. He can do it with both the offense and defense on the board to make sure that they are in the mix and then can figure out a way to win down the stretch. So can he do it this evening against the Northern Colorado team that just took his team apart, beat him by 28 last Monday? I don't actually read that much into that because I actually think losing so poorly in Greeley could be the thing that actually ignites the Grizz. We'll see. If the best version of the Grizz show up tonight, the Grizz are going to be the favorites against Northern Colorado. If anything less, though, they're in trouble because UNC, I think, is the hottest team in the conference. Here's Travis DeCuire on the wide state of college basketball in the Big Sky Conference and in the United States of America. It's probably presented by Blackfoot Communications. Last year, we hosted watch parties at the Tap Club, RIP to the Tap Club. But we were on hand there. It was so fun having the Grizz in the tournament and having a bunch of people from Missoula come down and eat some pizzas and hang out with us. We'll be doing a watch party again. Grizz in the tournament or not, we'll be doing a watch party down at the Press Box on March 19th. That's presented to you in part by Blackfoot Communications. It will be sort of a co-Nuanez Now hangout and a co-Blackfoot Communications customer appreciation. Blackfoot Communications have been helping Montanans make strong connections for more than 70 years. With headquarters in Missoula and Bozeman, Blackfoot has been providing steady, high-quality jobs to Western Montana for decades. As your caring neighbor, Blackfoot shows their support by giving back to local organizations, causes, and schools in ways that truly matter. Blackfoot's mission is to connect people, businesses, and communities. Connect more with Blackfoot Communications to find out more about how Blackfoot can improve your connection to our community. Visit blackfoot.com. Travis DeCuire, Montana head men's basketball coach, here on Nuanez Now, 129 ESPN Radio. Tournament takeover live from Idaho Central Arena in Boise, Idaho, and we're coming up on it. Montana plays at Northern Colorado here in about half an hour. Checking in now with Grizz head coach Travis DeCuire. Coach, thanks for being here. How you doing?
Appreciate you having me, man. I'm doing great.
Good. First of all, we got to talk just about the league in general. You've been around the league for a while now. The last couple of years, like the margin of victory or the margin of defeat in league games has been top 5 in the country, I think 3 years in a row. I did a story with you a couple of years ago about the one possession games because there was like the first half of league play a couple of years ago. It was like 2 buzzer beaters a weekend. But it seemed like this year, it didn't matter who was playing who. You turned the games on and it's a 4 or 6 point game with 4 or 6 minutes to play. So what did you think of just how close it was? What do you attribute that to? Why do you think there is such a sort of a narrow margin right now?
It's the transfer situation, and the talent is very even in the conference. I think the guys that are transferring down from the larger conferences aren't necessarily that much better than the guys transferring up if they are better. A lot of the young men that are transferring up have more playing experience than the ones transferring down, and so I think you're kind of breaking even a little bit. And then the teams that return the most tend to have the most success, la Portland State. But it's a combination. I just think that we have great coaches in our conference. We understand style of play from night to night, and I think a lot of coaches do a really good job of preparing for one another.
I mean, those are the factors outside. I mean, obviously the transfer is such a huge portion of this, but I also think the fact that there's such a diversity of coaches, like the styles are so different. You see this in the men's and the women's leagues, right? I mean, it is crazy how many different styles are played. And then also the road trips are so hard as well. I mean, I think that the Big Sky was like the second highest league in the country in terms of home win percentage because it's hard to go basically anywhere and get a road victory. So how much do you think those factors just contribute to the sort of the ups and downs of league play too?
You're definitely on point with that. We've always said that, right? Is you look up, I want to say maybe 4 out of 5 years, the 1 or 2 seed would have a loss at NAU.
Right.
Regardless to where they finished in conference, right? And it just hard swings. I think only in the last 10 years, maybe, that Eastern Idaho has been swept at home 3 times. So you look at, like, some of these programs are just good at home. Some of it is their crowd. Some of it is the travel. Some of it's tradition. I think, there's a couple programs. Weber, is an example of a program that every time they go on the road, the attendance at that place is going to be higher than normal. So the environment, right? We go into Sac State this year, and it was the highest marketed game of the year for them.
Right.
Right. And so you have things like that play into it a little bit too, is, You got old rivalries. There's just so many different things to play into. But at the end of the day, I think the reality is that we have good coaches in the conference that do a good job of preparing for one another. And it doesn't matter who has the most talent. Anyone can win on any given night.
Well, the league is in such an interesting situation, too, because, look at the RPI. I mean, it's right there, right in the middle of the conferences, of the 32 conferences in Division I. And I think that at the same time gives the league an advantage in terms of sort of the talent it can attract. But then also, because there's only a couple leagues out west now, all the guys that are great players are going to get seen, and then they're going to get stuff thrown at them, so it's harder to retain guys, it seems like, too. So how do you sort of manage the talent you can get, but also the fact that so many of these good guys have made their way and then maybe transferred out? You've been able to keep a lot of your best guys.
Yeah, we've been fortunate. I think what's happening now, though, is you've got – so for recruiting, right, high school, junior college, we've always had these subscriptions that you can get. You'll receive a list of names of available players in different classes at different levels, and you kind of get names from that sometimes, because sometimes everybody's going to slip through a crack here and there. You can't see everyone, and sometimes you might be struggling looking for something specific, and you go to subscriptions and you find these names, right? And, sometimes before we go out in the summer, we might look, top players in California, top players in Oregon, top players in Utah. Make sure there's not some names on some list that we didn't know of, so we can make sure we see everyone. Now you get those subscriptions of available transfers. So no one has to see these guys, right? If a young man's putting up double figures as a freshman or sophomore, he's going to end up on the top of a list that's going to end up on a coach's desk, or some universities, a general manager's desk. And so there's a lot of transfer recruitment taking place without ever seeing a guy. You just look at his stats on a piece of paper. How tall is he? How many points? How many rebounds? How many assists? We'll take him. How much is he? What's his value? There'll be another subscription to tell you what his value is. You call and you offer, and the dollars that you're offering him are what everybody would offer him, because that's his value. You're not even really recruiting at that point, right?
Right.
And so that's what makes it difficult. A lot of these kids are making decisions based on dollars.
Travis Secure joining us here on Nuanez Now 102.9 ESPN Radio. I mean, is that part frustrating? Because it seems like you have to do a lot of vetting, right? Because, I mean, as we both know, statistics are impactful in basketball, but there's a lot of guys that can maybe impact the game at a much higher level than just points per game, right? Or just how tall they are. I mean, look at Chris Paul. He just retired from the NBA. Chris Paul could average 25 points per game anytime he wanted. He never did, because he was always trying to be the floor general, the facilitator. So sometimes maybe the numbers don't tell the whole story. So how do you sort of vet guys now when it is sort of this? I mean, it seems like not being able to watch them as much is a disadvantage, especially for how you like to build your program.
Well, what we used to do is, we'd have a list of kids that we knew were transferring. Right back then, you had to have a release.
Right, you actually had to get a release from your scholarship, right?
Right, so you'd get a phone call from someone and say, "Hey, such and such is available. He's transferring," and I go, "Okay." So you check with compliance. There'd be no release, right? And so you say, "Hey, can you have him send me the release, a copy of the release, so I know I legally can call him," right? So you'd have a handful of kids, and while you're waiting for those releases, you'd pull up film, and you'd watch footage. You'd download games, and you'd watch. And so you'd have a stat sheet, but you'd watch 4 or 5 games, and then you'd make a decision from there, is he worth bringing in? So then you bring him in and you'd work him out. Well, now all that's out the window, because the time available to evaluate is shorter. A lot of these guys are making decisions in 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. So you don't have the time to vet ability. You don't have the time to get on the phone and talk to all the people that are involved with them, the supporting cast, and decide whether that's a family you want to get in bed with, right? And so you're making quicker decisions because kids are in or out of the portal so fast. And so now you're going to go off of what they looked like 2 years ago in high school, or what the coach that you're communicating with the school that he's leaving, what they tell you. And so you're gambling a little bit. It's a shot in the dark, and it's going to get harder because the portal window is shorter now. It's going to be 2 weeks. So for us, here's where your issue is. If you're on semesters, you're going to have 2 weeks to watch these guys go in the portal and have them come see you, right? After those 2 weeks are up, we're going to be shutting down, because the week before finals, we can't work our guys out, and finals week, we can't work our guys out, and then they're gone. So that gives us 2 weeks to bring in as many kids and evaluate as possible. And then after that, you're going to be going off of film, word of mouth, reputation, or you got to wait until June when you bring your guys back for summer to evaluate. So now you got to decide whether you take guys without evaluating them or not, and that's where the mistakes are made.
Well, it seems like then getting a team to come together is as big of a challenge as a head coach can have. You guys did it last year by winning the conference. This year, you've had some really high watermarks, but also had some inconsistencies too. So what have the challenges been this year when it comes to just getting a team to come together?
Our issue this year is depth and experience, right? And you look at, who's the most experienced team in our conference? Portland State, right? Who's the second most experienced team in the conference? Montana State. Who's the third most experienced team in the conference? Eastern Washington.
Right.
Right? You have guys that have played a lot of games, right? Eastern Washington has 2 guys that have played games for other teams in our conference, right? Experience wins. If you're going to start 2 freshmen, it's going to be very difficult to win a championship. And so that's where your inconsistencies take place is you have to have enough depth where your freshmen aren't your leaders, right? There's probably a good chance that the freshman of the year is going to be at Sac State, a very inconsistent basketball team, but he had great numbers. And so that's the biggest issue is for us. We just didn't have enough experienced basketball players on the floor to win in tough situations.
You mentioned Portland State. I'm writing a feature just about their, getting their number 1 seed, the league championship. What do you think's helped them get over the top? Because obviously the experience helps. Seems to me like the defense and the experience within that defense also helps them. What do you think? What is the thing that helped them get over the top?
One, they returned their best 3 players. Right? There's no question that those 3 were their best players last year. Right? Okay, they were one of the best defenses in the country last year, and they returned 2 of their best defensive players. If there was an all-defensive team, 2 of those guys should be on it, right? So they were able to continue to play the exact same way they played last year. They had no changes made. So even though they brought in a couple new bodies, those guys just filled the roles of the guys that left, right? And they moved Jalen Henderson and increased his usage, obviously. But they really didn't have to change how they played. And so when you don't have to make changes, you're going to be more consistent, which is kind of what we expected with Northern Colorado. It just didn't happen that way.
When it comes to Northern Colorado, I mean, they are one of the hotter teams in the league. That's your first round opponent. I guess your second round, whatever you want to call it, but your first opponent in the tournament. So where have you seen them turn a corner after they had a great non-conference and sort of a slow start to conference play, but they're great down the stretch? What do you attribute that to? What have you seen out of them the second half here that's been tough?
Once again, they returned 3 guys that were high usage, high minutes, very experienced with the conference. I think Denker's injury led to the slow start in conference. I think he rushed back because he felt like he had a team that could win a championship. He was committed to winning, and so he rushes back. And they weren't very deep. They didn't really have bench, and it hurt them early. And once, they kind of got rhythm, made some adjustments defensively, they became the hottest team in the conference along with Eastern Washington and got back to the way they were playing prior to conference. And so they're back to that, being that team. And so their experience is why they were able to survive the rut that they were in.
That dynamic, who is hot coming into this tournament, right? Because, the 3 and the 4 seed are the 2 hottest teams, but then the 1 and the 2 have been the guys that have been the most consistent. But I think you guys have the highest ceiling of any of the teams. So, it seems like there's a whole bunch of teams that can win this thing. What's it going to take for Montana to be that team here?
I just think it's unpredictable, man. We've seen teams come in hot and lose in the first game. Right, we've seen the 2 seed go down. We've seen the 1 seed go down. Most of the time, it's the 2 seed, and then the last 2 years it was the 1 seed. And so I think what happens is you've got teams with their back against the wall that have played the night before, playing against someone that hasn't played with a lot of stress, and the loose team wins. And in my opinion, the loose team wins a lot in these conference games, especially in the first round, the first night. And so for us, I think that when we've been loose and we've gone in with a high expectation that we're good enough to win this, or we felt that we were the better team, without putting pressure on the guys, we've been great. And last year's team was different than most. We had some guys on that team that had never won in terms of just been on teams with winning seasons, right? We had guys that had never won a championship. And when a guy like Malik Moore comes off of a red shirt, when a guy like Tajon Sawyer has midseason surgery and returns when he could have redshirted, right? That level of commitment forces the issue with everyone else on the team. What else? What would keep you from committing to winning when these two guys have done what they just did? And so it made it easy for the other guys to commit and go all out. And we just had a really deep team. And you know, you get lucky in the transfer portal from time to time. You know, Kai Johnson got off to a slow start. He didn't pick up until our first conference game at Idaho. He became himself in conference. Right. Joe Pridgeon didn't care. He got off to a really good start offensively in November. His production went down when Malik started playing. It didn't faze him. And so we just had a very selfless basketball team that was old. We were the oldest team in the conference. And we were experienced. And you know, I think we had 6 guys on the floor in year 4 or 5. And you don't really see that very much at this level anymore.
What sort of learning experience can this be then for your young team coming into this week in Boise?
For us to win, we've got to grow from the experiences we had this year. And so I've said that at some point these freshmen got to play like sophomores. Sophomores got to play like juniors, right? Our juniors got to, you know, Monty Williams and Brooklyn Hicks got to play like seniors. And so we got to show growth this week.
Travis DeGear here on Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Coach, good luck. Appreciate it. And we'll see you soon.
Appreciate you, man. Always. Anytime for you, man.
Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, probably presented by Stockman Bank of Montana. Stockman Bank in Montana, only in Montana, and they plan on keeping it that way. Let Stockman Bank show you Montana's brand of banking. We'll come back in just a few minutes left, give you an update on what's going on with the Grizz game and whatever else went down at the Big Sky Tournament today. Jeff Safford and Hayden Smith will take you home. Don't change that now. Keep it right here. You're listening to 102.9 FM, ESPN Radio.
It's tournament time. Buzzer beaters, underdog stories, and the best deals at Bob Ward's. Get off the couch and into the game at Montana's oldest sporting goods retailer. Baseball gloves, bats and cleats, soccer balls, shin guards, and training gear. Whether you're cutting down nets or cutting across the outfield, Bob Ward's has the gear you need. Discounts on top name brands across every department. Savings in camping, fishing, and everything outdoors. Don't miss your shot. Shop Bob Ward's, sports and outdoors, Montana style.
Black Mountain Lawn and Landscaping offers comprehensive yard care services, including lawn mowing, planting, irrigation, landscaping, waterfalls, and hardscaping with a focus on paver patios. Black Mountain Lawn and Landscaping offers customized lawn care programs to revitalize and rejuvenate your lawn to get your landscape beds and gardens ready for the season. Free estimates on sprinkler systems and lawn mowing and yard care services. Visit blackmountainlandscaping.com, call 406-529-0793, or email dave@blackmountainlawns.com.
Missoula, the best in college hoops, descends upon the press box Thursday, March 19th, with Blackfoot Communications hosting a watch party for America's favorite tournament. Big screens, big games, wall-to-wall basketball. Blackfoot Communications is your local provider of voice, internet, and managed services, proudly serving Missoula businesses every day. Join us at the press box on March 19th. To learn more about Blackfoot services, visit blackfoot.com.
Hi, this is Johnny with Last Best Golf Company. I started my shop in my garage with one goal in mind, to deliver tour quality club fittings and precision builds to golfers across western Montana. We have now outgrown the garage, and we are now located at 517 South Orange Street in Missoula. Spring is right around the corner, and now is the time to book your equipment consultation and make 2026 your best season yet. Visit us at our new shop on Orange Street or check out lastbestgolfco.com. At Last Best Golf Co., we don't just sell off-the-rack golf clubs, we build pure performance, custom fit for you.
Hey, it's Colter Nuanez from your favorite daily sports talk show, Nuanez Now, and I want to buy you a meal on your birthday at Paradise Falls. If it's your birthday, head on over to Paradise Falls at 3621 Brook Street, and I will buy you a birthday entree. All you have to do is go into the family-friendly Missoula favorite, present your ID, and the entree is on me. Birthday meals courtesy of Nuanez Now at Paradise Falls, a family-friendly restaurant serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If it's your birthday, head over to Paradise Falls, Missoula's coolest hotspot.
Frame of Mind warmly invites you to their March art exhibition, Friday the 13th from 5:30 to 8, featuring inspiring work by talented local artists. This month's show is especially meaningful, highlighting artists who live with disabilities and channel their unique experiences and creativity into powerful pieces. Join Frame of Mind to celebrate these extraordinary artists. Together, let's honor their creativity, amplify their voices, and champion inclusion in every corner of community life. Details at frameofmindmt.com.
It's Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
Loving the chill vibes here on a Monday afternoon. Hayden Smith with all the tunes throughout this edition of Nuanez Now. Welcome back to the Missoula Broadcasting Company. I'm Jeff Safford, wrapping up this edition of Nuanez Now, SWX Montana TV, streaming on the ESPN MT app. Also our YouTube page. Don't forget about that ESPN MT YouTube page. Nuanez Now, of course, on every weekday there with shorts and other fun pieces of content. Also streaming live Grizzly lacrosse. Also this past weekend, college rugby on the U of M campus. That was pretty fun to watch. Those students from the University of Montana get a chance to cover some live sports. And again, mentioned this in the first hour, but what an awesome weekend for Grizzly lacrosse. Outscoring their three opponents they saw 62-10. Woof. They'll look to keep it rolling this next week, going out to Minnesota for their spring break trip, taking on the reigning, defending, undisputed national champions in MCLA lacrosse. The highlight of that trip next Sunday, or this Sunday rather, the number one ranked nationally, St. Thomas Tommies. So that'll be fun to watch this weekend. Montana in action this Saturday, Sunday, and then next Tuesday for their next couple of games. Now, speaking of scores, this has been a day full of hoops. We're in March Madness rolling along, the Big Sky Conference basketball tournament. We mentioned the final score of an upset on the women's side of the bracket, thinking about the Eastern Washington women getting a victory over Northern Colorado by 2, 55-53, led by Billings West's finest, Courtney Grossman, who had close to a double-double in that win for the Eagles. The Northern Colorado men are currently in action on the men's side of the bracket at Idaho Central Arena over there in Boise, a fabulous venue. I've been there for a few times calling Grizz hockey, but the Montana men are currently in action, taking on Northern Colorado. Watching Money Williams right now at the free throw line for the Montana Grizzlies, the 5 seed in this tournament, taking on Northern Colorado, the 4 seed, or actually flip-flop that, with the Grizzlies the higher seed. Montana about halfway through the first half, 8 minutes and change to go, 8:52 and counting. Montana, Travis DeCure's squad, off to a good start in the first half. They have a lead of 8 right now, 24-16. Again, that's Montana Grizz men's basketball, a lead over Northern Colorado, 24-16. So we'll be able to get a full reaction from Colter Nuanez on the final results of that game tomorrow, and also tune in to the ESPN Plus broadcast if you want to catch the Grizz men in action. Back with more on Nuanez Now for your Tuesday. That's it for a Monday on ESPN Missoula.